So England going really very well at the moment. The form team is still very early days, but it's got people like Pakistan and so on who've also begun well. So they'll certainly be delighted, I think, to have made sure there's absolutely no slip-ups. So Bangladesh have always been a little bit of an issue for England, not necessarily in T20 cricket because they haven't played each other before, but certainly in the longer forms of the game in the World Cup. And England have had one or two issues with Bangladesh over the years, but not today. That was as emphatic as you like, and a really nice way for Jason Roy to celebrate his 50th cap by scoring 61 from 38 balls. He hit 5 fours and 3 sixes. Joss Buttler went in the 5th over for 18. But they're already underway then, 39 for 1 with Milan and Bairstow just seeing England home. So what have we learnt from all that, I wonder? We'll hear from Chris Woakes at some stage, hopefully, if all our communications work well, and so we'll be keeping an eye on that whenever he takes up the microphone down there in Abu Dhabi. What have we learnt from there? What is Stephen Finn is going to pull his headset on, no doubt, and join in the conversation. What have we learnt? What have we learnt? What have we learnt? What have we learnt about England there?
Well, I think in previous tournaments, and I'm looking back to the last World T20 and previous before that, I think that games that could have been potential banana skins for England, they've learnt how to deal with that. I think because in previous years you come into a game against Bangladesh on a surface such as this, you lose the toss, it's a hot day, you can get put under the pump, but I really do think that they've dealt with the pressure very well, and I think that bodes well.
Chris Woakes is with us. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Agus. How you doing, mate?
Well, I'm really well. I'd enjoyed some of your sunshine out there in Abu Dhabi. I think it looked a bit of a roaster.
Yeah, it was a warm one. Nice breeze, though, so that certainly helped. But yeah, it was certainly warmer than Birmingham, mate. But
and indeed Salford, where we're all sitting and watching, and having watched, well, I mean, the both performances have just been spot on, haven't they?
Yeah, no, it's been a really good start by the boys. You always want to start tournaments well, don't you? And in particular in this kind of format of the group stage, it's always looking like it's going to be a bit of a dogfight. And obviously, to have 2 out of 2 on the board already is really, really nice start.
Yeah, and how was it going into it? I mean, there's the usual anxiety about World Cups, and there's the Ashes round the corner and so on. I mean, how have you managed just to focus completely on particularly that first game?
I think once we got close to the tournament, you kind of switch your focus, don't you? And you completely, zone into what you've got ahead. But, pre coming out here, obviously there's a lot of Ashes talk, and particularly for the guys that are involved with the Ashes squad, it's probably a little bit tricky. But I think once we joined up as a squad here and kind of got into it, you get your mind on the focus. Onto the warm-up games. And then obviously moving into the tournaments, it's quite easy to zone into what we need to do here.
Yeah, so I mean, are you Ashes players talking about the Ashes at all, or is that just completely sort of out of bounds at the moment?
To be honest, it's been out of bounds really. I think once we got into the World Cup mode, joined up as a full squad, been completely focused on this. Of course there's obviously going to be talk about the Ashes, it's around the corner, but from our point of view, from within the camp, we're certainly focused on a World Cup. World Cups are huge, aren't they? And they don't come around too often. So, the opportunity to play in them might not always be around the corner. So, completely focused on that for now.
Yeah. And when did you all first hear about Ben Stokes joining up with the Ashes squad?
For me personally, I don't know what it was for other boys, but for me personally, it was literally moments before it was announced to the media. So, that was obviously welcome news. Great to have Ben amongst the squad again, but more importantly, obviously great to have him involved with cricket again. To see him well, to see him ready to go and play cricket for England again is really good. But I didn't know until probably moments before you guys did, really.
Yeah, I mean, did it give everyone a real boost?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I think it gave everyone a boost knowing that he's well and he's ready to crack on with his cricket career. You don't want to. You wish what he's been through on anyone, and it's great to know that his well-being is in a good place and feels that he's ready to come back and play cricket for England, which everyone wants him to do. He's such a world-class player and a great guy to have around the team as well and around the environment. So obviously, really welcome news.
Yeah, I'll ask you a question about this game in a second. I promise you. But just one more. I mean, to have Stokes back. for the Ashes, and I know you're kind of on the back burner at the moment, but here we're sort of revving up for all that as well. It's all in the mix, and there's lots of coverage and so on. I mean, what sort of improvement does that give to England's prospects, do you think?
No, look, I think it's huge. I think any team having Ben Stokes in it makes it a better team. Let's face facts. He's a world-class all-rounder. We've seen the performances that he's put in over his career, and more recently in the last few years for England. That World Cup year and Ashes year at home. A lot of the time in a lot of games he was the difference for us. So he's a huge player to have, both with bat and ball, and in the field and within the dressing room. So of course it's a huge boost for us as a team, as an England team going down under. It's never an easy prospect to play Australia in Australia, so to have him on board is obviously great. Yeah,
and it'd be really good to have this World Cup in the bag as well. I guess a word about Jason Royce. I mean, his 50th T20 international. He showed today what a valuable player he is.
Yeah, he's been a dominant player for us over the last few years, hasn't he? Ever since the kind of England's white ball game kind of moved from after that 2015 World Cup, he's been a mainstay of that, and he's a huge player for this T20 team in particular. And the way he played today on what wasn't a great surface, to be honest with you. I think, he made it actually look very easy out there. He rotated the strike to the spin, and then obviously played his big shots and executed them really well as well. So, great for him on his 50th cap to play like he did. But, more importantly, he got us over the line today with a great innings. Let's have a last word about Australia then. I mean, I know it's on Saturday, it's a bit away, but that's the next one in your sights, and I mean, you're going into that in the best possible frame of mind, I imagine. Yeah, definitely. I think the boys are confident. We're 2 from 2, but we also know that there's got a lot of hard work to go yet. As I said, this group's going to be tricky. We've got some big games coming up. We're obviously confident as a group at the minute, but it's a new day, a new game against Australia. They're always, a very good team, and on their day, they're obviously going to be a very, hard to beat. So we know that that's going to be a tough challenge, and England-Australia always brings up its own sort of, rivalry, and makes the game have a little bit more than what you probably normally have. So, really excited for that game, but, we're going into it with confidence, which is good. Excellent. Enjoy your evening, Chris. Go well. We'll catch up with you soon. Cheers, Agus. Thank you. Cheers, Chris. There we go. Lots of little bits and pieces in there, which is nice to hear from Chris Woakes. Is always a nice chatter. It's nice to hear about that, the Ben Stokes thing, and I mean, they clearly must have had a lift from that. Those who are going on to Australia. Yeah, you're buoyed, definitely, if you're in that situation there as an England team, understanding how important he is, one, to the balance of the team from a cricket perspective, but also knowing that he feels well enough to be able to come back and compete in international cricket again after the troubles that he's had and quite publicly lived out. So, yeah, I think there are a number of positive things to come from that, but it will certainly buoy the England team to be able to have him on the plane when they set foot in Australia, and hopefully he can get up to speed enough to be ready for that first Test match. Yeah, I wonder how they are keeping sort of Ashes conversation out. I mean, he's a second player. I spoke to David Malan the other day, and again he said exactly the same thing. It's sort of off limits. We're not talking about the Ashes at all, and yet it's there, isn't it? It's there, looming so large. I wonder how they're managing to do that.
I think these days players take the mind off cricket a lot more than in the past, so the boys probably know who will be on Twitch later on playing Call of Duty more so than who's ready to go.
That's on my card, but what is Twitch?
It's some platform that people can watch you playing games. So you sit in front of your TV, you play a game, and people can watch you stream. You can stream your games, and people can watch you. People can tip you and give you money and talk to you, and all. So it's all sort of interactive stuff. So I'm sure that after being in the heat of battle and literal heat with how hot the UAE is, you don't want to go back to your room and then start talking about the Ashes and then look at the game tomorrow morning, talk about the Ashes, and then you got practice. You never ever tune out and you burn up mentally. So they'd be back to the dressing room, talk about the game, probably hotel, they could imagine, have a drink, and then once that is done, shut the game off, cut cricket completely off unless they're tuning into one of the later games, and just take some time away and keep their mind fresh. When they go back to practice, it's cricket again.
Twitch. Whatever happened to Scrabble?
I imagine how little sleep you'd have got had you had a flight simulator 30 years ago. I'd watch you land a Boeing 747 at Adelaide. No, I'll tell you where I'd like to watch you land it. Wellington,
accurate.
In a strong breeze.
I'd tune in for that, Agers, definitely.
Well, I've landed A380s, in a big simulator, so you might be surprised. Oh, well, Twitch, I've learned something new. Thank you, Carlos. I'm always learning stuff in here. What else have we learned today? Well, there's that mowing business and the new ball, and whether or not England continue with that. Interesting that Chris talked about the pitch, that he didn't actually think it was a great pitch. I mean, it's hard on the telly, isn't it, to see. It didn't look too bad, but I just wonder again, over time, whether these pitches will get tired and there's the time to try and dress them up or not, because they're not very big squares there, are they? There aren't many pitches available. The
surprising thing as well, not necessarily surprising, but Owen Morgan said he was surprised about how good the wicket looked, and if it's played like that and the players are coming off and saying that it wasn't a fantastic pitch, then as the tournament goes on and the square gets more tired, I think that's going to lend itself to even more tight, low-scoring games, which for me is really entertaining cricket. It might not necessarily what Simon Mann's 6-counter is going to want as it ticks over each time, but I think it proves for some really entertaining cricket, and it's going to be about the teams who hold their nerve at the important stages of games, and I very much at the moment feel as though England have got a team that's very well equipped to be able to deal with those situations. There are going to be tougher tests than they've had today. They're going to be put under serious pressure at some stage with some of the teams that they're yet to come up against in this Super 12 part of the tournament, but at the moment all signs are positive for England, and they can take a lot of confidence from the performances they've had so far going into Saturday's game against Australia.
Man of the match, no doubt about that, playing his 50th game too, so nice on for Jason Roy, who's been talking to Mike Atherton.
Yeah, player of the match, Jason Roy, 61 from 38 balls. Congratulations. The perfect way, really, to celebrate your 50th cap.
Yeah, that was a very special match for us. Obviously, he had to back up our last performance against West Indies, and we came out firing again with the ball. And a lot of the credit has to go to our bowlers again.
50 games spread over quite a long period of time. How has T20 changed in that time? How has your own game changed in that time?
Yeah, I mean, you grow up a little bit, I guess, a tiny bit. But it's at the start of my career, I feel like there was this like sporadic T20s here and there, 1 or 2 tagged on alongside a 50 over series. So it's been nice to get into a bit more of a routine now over the last couple of years. Obviously, COVID kind of stuffed things up a little bit for us, but yeah, nice to get going here, mate.
I read an interview with you before the start of the tournament where you said in these conditions in particular you had to just slightly recalibrate and not think about trying to hit a boundary every ball.
Yeah, I guess you want to get off to as good as a start as possibly you can for the team, but these pitches have sometimes been quite hard for us to do so. Today was all right, managed to hit a few gaps and whatnot, but yeah, it's definitely a case of keeping wickets in hand and then powering through the back end of our innings.
And I guess you steel yourself for playing quite a lot of spin in the power play. How pleased were you therefore with the way it went today?
Yeah, that was nice. Obviously I've been working very hard on that the last few years. It's a part of my game that's improved a lot, and then today was a very big test for me coming in with obviously 2 left-arm spinners, 2 left-arm seamers and an off-spinner, so I had to really use all the skills that I've learned, and yeah.
Well done, congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, played well, didn't he? Really handsome innings that from Jason Roy. Typical, lots of straight drives and 3 sixes, 5 fours in his 38 balls 61, which saw England home with 35 balls to spare. So and a win by 8 wickets, 126 for 2. So let's just look at these groups then, shall we? See where everyone's lined up at the moment. England top of Group 1, of course, played 2 and 1-2, and their net run rate is handsome compared to everybody else, 3.6. And that, if you consider that Sri Lanka, who are second, having played us the 1 game, mind you, but their net run rate's only 0.5, you can see where England have positioned themselves with those wins over West Indies and now Bangladesh. Australia in 3rd place on 2 points. So these are, again, net run rate affected. South Africa, they've lost a game, so they're on 2 points as well, having played 2. Bangladesh now 2 defeats, and West Indies 2 defeats. And your mob, Carlos, on the bottom there, they've got a bit of work to do, haven't they?
Not a bit, a lot of work. They need to hope that some results go their way as well. They got started batting out. In 2016 when we won all the tosses and we batted second all the time, and basically had an idea of restricting the batters and then chasing down a very small total. And even if it got to a big total, we backed the batting lineup, but it had more balance. You had your dashers and Chris and Johnson Charles at the top, but you had Marlon Samuels at number 3, and then Lendo Simmons came in for the last couple of games to add a little bit of stability and balance in the middle, and then you had a bit of firepower in the back end. In this current team, I just don't see them going through the gears and being able to stitch different passages of play between the power play, the middle phase and the death together. It seems as though they're waiting for one person to have a day out. Ivan Lewis almost had that day out the second game, but as a team and as a batting unit, they're still short of a gallop, short of trying to find a way to stitch that innings together.
Yeah. Are you in touch with any of the players at the moment? I just wonder what morale was like really in the camp. I mean, without mentioning names, of course, but I mean,
anybody who talked to that is in the camp will say morale is high. And that we feel that we can win, and that's the sort of attitude that you would want to have. But I mean, looking from outside and having been a part of dressing rooms, you also know where you fall short. You also know what you need to work on. So a bit of bravado would always be, spirits high, and we were unlucky here, might be unlucky there, and we just won good innings away, and all the cliches that are being used from time to time. But you would know that there will be a lot of emphasis on the batting. Saw in the interview, Paul had mentioned it, they haven't batted well as a team. So there's nothing to hide, there's nowhere to hide. It's just a matter of finding a way to recover from the 2 defeats, and they need to start with themselves. They need to win a game first. Forget the other results. How can we bat 20 overs, and how can we structure the power play? What's the target? Between 7 and 15, we can play the West Indian way, but how do we get to a total that stitches the middle phase to the death when we know we come into play with the last 5 overs and can potentially take the game away from any team in the world on our day?
Bit of slow start in Group 2. Pakistan, though, played 2-1-2, and they're pretty comfortably up there at the top of the table. And of course, we've got Scotland, Namibia coming up this afternoon. For me, Steve, is whether Pakistan can keep going. They blow so hot and cold, don't they? But my word, they play some good cricket so far.
Yeah, they look like a really well knitted together
unit. Pace as well.
Yeah, he's a fantastic bowler. Fantastic bowler to watch. Really exciting. But I also think that momentum is such a big thing in tournament play such as this, and the tournament, it's a relatively long tournament. There's a lot of games, and each team's playing a lot of games. So if you've had a slow start like the West Indies, it literally takes one day where something clicks, like Carlos says, and then all of a sudden you're building momentum at the correct end of the tournament. You don't want to come out the blocks flying and then taper off. So the teams, Pakistan and England, who've won 2 from 2, will be very, very wary of the fact that they need to keep trying to build on what they've started with. Pakistan are a dangerous team, and actually I really like the look of Sri Lanka, having watched them closely here the other day.
Yes.
Their battery of pace bowlers who are real quick, all bowling 90 miles an hour, plus their mystery spinners, the leg spin that can spin it both ways, and then the off spinner that bowls carom balls and all sorts of different pace deliveries. I think they look like a really exciting team to look out for towards the latter stages of the tournament
as the pitches wear.
Definitely.
Yeah, they are interesting. Good. So Pakistan, Afghanistan, New Zealand, India and Scotland is how Group 2 lines up at the moment. And what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from both the captains from today. Mahmudullah, of course, of Bangladesh, and what's his name? Owen Morgan.
That's his name.
Owen Morgan of England. Talking to Mike Atherton.
Yeah, we'll have a brief chat with the captains because we've got another game coming up as well. Mahmudullah, Bangladesh is losing. Captain, a very disappointing day for you.
Definitely, I think we're very disappointed the way we have batted. I think especially the wicket, as I've mentioned, it was a very good wicket to bat on, but we didn't start well and we didn't make any partnership in the middle as well.
You wanted to bat first to get runs on the board, to put pressure on England with the spinners. There seemed to be a lack of intent and certainly a lack of boundaries until late on in the day.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what we've been lacking, I think, especially in the power plays and in the middle overs. If we get a good start, then we can capitalize on. But if we don't get a good start, such this type of a wicket, I think it gets difficult later on.
And has that lack of power or lack of boundary hitting been a problem for Bangladesh more generally?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it in many interviews that we're much more skill hitter rather than a power hitter, and we don't want to become power hitter because our skills are much. I hope that it's good enough to make a good total on the board.
It's made life very difficult for you now in the Super 12s. You've got to try and up your game for the next few matches.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to reassess a lot of things, especially in batting. I think, and we need to come up with a good plan.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Owen, well done again. Your bowlers are making life very easy for you.
They are. They've really started the tournament exceptionally well. I think they've adapted conditions really well. Again today, very disciplined and backed up in the field with really good catching and ground fielding. And I think it's very important here at Abu Dhabi to do that. But they've certainly taken front and centre as regards their performance in the two games that we've played.
I was thinking not so long ago you went to India with what you thought was a full strength side, and quite a lot of these bowlers weren't a part of that. Wokes, Moeen Ali, Liam Livingstone wasn't there, Timal Mills. So it shows, I suppose, the strength in depth and also the flexibility that you need.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's also a huge compliment to how far white ball cricket in general has come along. We have quite a big squad of players that have been part of the 2019 success in ODI cricket, and I think that's lent itself to the T20 game as well. The names you just mentioned, yes, they have been sort of fighting for places, but they haven't been too far away at any given stage.
Now, Jason Roy is going to have to be a very important player for you, particularly with the power play and against spin. Therefore, his form today must have thrilled you.
Yeah, crucial. I think it's nice for him and David to get some time at the wicket. Obviously, Jason, the way he plays is so imposing at the wicket, and when you play like that on really slow wickets, it makes it very difficult both to set fields and who to bowl. So it's great to see him in good touch.
We've got to cut things short. Apologies. Good to see you. Well done.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
There we are, both captains reflecting on England's victory today. That puts up the top of Group 1. Let's look ahead briefly to Australia, I guess. That's England's next encounter, Stephen. And, well, to Chris Wokes, I mean, you couldn't be in a better place, really.
No, and for me, England looked better equipped than Australia for these conditions. From what I've seen so far, especially with Adil Rashid's leg spin, I think he's arguably the best leg spinner beside Rashid Khan in the tournament. So I think he's going to play a crucial role in tying down those Australians in the middle order. They're going to have Warner up top, so that lends to Moeen Ali opening the bowling again as an off spinner. Chris Wokes has been outstanding, and I think Jason Roy got the Man of the Match award there, and I think it was actually really nice for him to acknowledge the bowlers, because the bowlers did a lot of the hard work and the heavy lifting there in the first little bit of play, and sort of squashed any opportunity that Bangladesh would have had to get themselves a foothold in the game and put England under real pressure. So I give a lot of the credit for the win to the bowlers, and I think it was expertly polished off by Jason Roy with a fantastic innings on what was, I know Mamadullah said it was a good surface for batting. From what I saw there, that wasn't a good surface for batting. So how fluent Jason Roy looked and how much more fluent he looked than every other batsman in the game today, I think bodes well for him to again move through the tournament and just keep rolling with the momentum.
And a last impartial view from Carlos on England-Australia. How do you see that one going?
England are favourites for sure. We know they don't like their favourites tag, but they are favourites. And you think about, for me, the find of the game today was Liam Livingstone. You got Moeen Ali, who bowled majority of overs up top. Probably won't bowl again unless you find yourself with two middle order left-hand batters. But you have a Liam Livingstone now who have been trusted in this game, got a couple of wickets, proves he can bowl off breaks to the left-handers, leg breaks to the right-handers, and with good control. So you can look for him sneaking in a 2-over in some of these games, especially against Australia that struggled in the Caribbean against spin, struggled in Bangladesh against spin, and they're susceptible to good spin bowling. So Liam Livingstone, for me, could be one of the finds of the tournament with our role just coming in and bowling 2 or 3 overs in the middle. I think what it is also shown is that with Wokes bowling new ball, it takes Timal Mills a little bit out of his comfort zone of bowling 2 up top, 2 in the back. So you potentially need him for 1 in the middle now, Jordan for 1 in the middle, and then you have 2 each in the back end. So they're bowling 6 and Livingston will bowl the other 2 to make the 3 of them the 5th bowler type of thing.